Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Crypto Crow, and today I'm going to do something a bit different because I am going to go over all of my indicators, time frames, what I'm looking for, what I'm doing. And I've been trading now for years on and off, but for like hobby, for fun, for kicks. I've done some trading competitions. I won one. And a lot of people would refer to me as a pro trader. I am absolutely not a pro trader. I am working on it, though. I'm working on it now. And I've been sharing my trading journey. I'm literally in real time watching the trade I just made start to pay off. So that's nice. I guess I'll tell you why I got into the trade here in just a minute. But anyway, I'm learning a lot. I'm reading multiple books. I'm going through Trade Travel Chill's market maker method course, which is fantastic. There's a lot of stuff that I'm doing because I've always traded, but I've never had a system. I've never had setups. I've never really dove into exactly what's necessary to be an effective pro trader, somebody who can trade consistently day after day, week after week at profit. It's always been kind of an easy come, easy go kind of thing. And so I'm truly learning. I'm so committed to trading now. Luckily for me, I have Flux Charts that's officially sponsored my channel. And I play with a lot of different indicators for a lot of different reasons. And I'm going to show you why. I'm just going to break it down. So basically what I'm doing is here you're going to see my trading view and you're going to see this split screen. This is a 15-minute chart over here on the left, which is pretty much what I act on, right? So this is what I trade on. And then over here, you're going to see the 1 minute, okay? Now, on a 15-minute chart, this is basically where my Bit Unix account is set up. I focus here. But what I'm doing first, and before we dive into the indicators, I start out here on a day, okay, on a daily candle. And this is where I'm looking to find where are we expected to go? I mean, are we generally looking for an uptrend? Are we in a downtrend? What are we looking at? And you're going to notice here, you're going to see this green arrow down here and then these 3 take profit lines. This is Flux Charts, okay, just so that you know. And this nails these so well that I could show you screenshots. I'm going to be showing them on my on Crow's Nest site, but I can show you screenshots where when this triggers and prints these take profit lines, it nails this so hard. And this is telling me that we're likely going to see $118,300 because of all of the times I've seen Flux Charts actually trigger and these play out. I believe it, but the matter is when does this play out? And this isn't just a bullish thing. I've seen these play out on smaller time frames with shorts, okay? I believe I could effectively look at smaller time frames, wait for these to print and trade those, and I would do very well. But you might see one print one a week, right? You just don't know when these are going to pop up exactly. But ultimately, these are trends. These are changes in trend, and you can see these. You can see how like this one here triggered into a bearish. Now, they don't stay. That's the only thing. I can't look at these and they stay forever so that I could go back. You either notice them when they exist before they play out entirely, or they go away so they're not clogging up your charts. But you can see this bearish one printed as the momentum changed from bullish to bearish, and you can see what these red channels are. And that printed, I'm sure it hit. I mean, you can see this was one of its take profits. So that one played out. This one is obviously played out where the trend changed. And keep in mind, these are daily candles that we're looking at. But this is what I'm looking at, ultimately. I'm going to look at the day, and I'm going to get an idea as to, are we bullish? Are we bearish? What is the overall trend? Right now, it looks like the trend has been up. Now we're just consolidating sideways, waiting for a break. I believe, based off of what I'm seeing, we may be due for a downward correction before we start going back up. And if I'm looking at the volume is dropping, right? And typically what happens is in a bullish trend, the volume candles are going to be spikes. There's going to be a lot of volume in that bullish momentum. And then when we're going to get a transition out of a trend, typically it's like a car, right? If I'm driving my car and I know where I'm going to drive much faster. If I'm uncertain, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to change direction. And so that's typically what we could see here. We can see the volume profile just starting to die down from this uptrend, likely for a reversal. You can see it also as well in the MACD. You can see how, this was very, very bearish, but the MACD is saying, well, we could be turning around a bit, but it's very dim. I think this is dim because we're now in the weekend territory and we don't have the market makers that are actively pushing price direction and ultimately manipulating the retail market towards liquidity pools. And so that's kind of throwing things off a little bit. But this is ultimately what I'm looking at on the daily first. Then I'm going to go down and I'm going to look at the 4 hour, and I'm going to get a better idea as to what we're looking at. Now, with this, I'm also using market cipher elements on the 4 hour. I'm using Market Cipher A because I love these blood diamonds. When I see a blood diamond in the 4 hour, I know price is going down. As you can see, that's very, very true. Red X's, the red X's kind of mean something, but they don't always. It just kind of depends on what's going on and where like the sell side or buy side liquidity is, which is an element of flux charts. Okay. So this is a really big deal for, kind of charting where I think we're heading. In addition to this sell side, buy side liquidity, I say pools. I don't think they're not really pools. It's just where a lot of the order books are and like who's wanting to buy and who's wanting to sell. We can see order books down here. This is also on flux charts. But also, I'm looking down here at Market Cipher B because I'm using these green dots. If you look here, a green dot generally means we're going to go up a decent sum and then we might correct. If we get these two green dots here, this generally means it's going on a run. Like this is going somewhere. So I'm really kind of looking for this boom, boom right here. Once the money flow has changed direction, that typically stands to mean something. And then you can see these red dots pop up when, you can see here the light blue. When that starts to dissipate and we get a red dot, this is again kind of like your car. It's momentum. When momentum to the upside dies down, we stop the car, we go and change the direction. And you can see that playing out in the candles here. There's a lot to this. There's change of structure. So when you're in a trend, that trend changes and we start flipping it, then we get a change of structure. There's a lot to this. And I'm going to dive deeper into that. But on top of it all, I also look at previous day high, previous day low, high of the week, high of, all of that. I want to know kind of where are all the lines. And you can see we're supporting this here with the previous day high. Okay. So typically what happens is unless we really want to break above that with high volume and everything, this is probably going to touch and come back down. One of the things that I also look for, and I'll show you in the other time frame, are fair value gaps because those tend to act as magnets for the price, and there are a lot of reasons for that. Now, this is my 1 hour chart, and this is what I'm looking at for not only the market transitions, right, but I really focus on market transition periods on smaller time frames like the 15-minute. But this is all the trade, travel, chill stuff. This is everything, and as well as like the sell side liquidity, order books, all of that. This is my 4 hour candle or my 1 hour where I'm looking for like an M, right? I'm looking for these big signals primarily at the beginning of a week, like a Monday. A weekend isn't really going to help me much. But if you're looking at an M, at the top of a trend, typically that means we're going into a reversal period. everything right now is pointing to a reversal in Bitcoin's price. I'm sure it's likely going to be short term, and we're probably going to get that. That's probably going to be the case through the weekend, probably into the early days of next week, is my guess, based off of everything that I'm seeing right now. But we're looking at, I mean, at some point we could drop much lower. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen until we probably hit a new all-time high. But from there, we'll have to see. But even here, we just got a buy trigger from Flux Charts telling us, listen, price could peak out here on an hourly chart at around $112,365. We've only hit the first trigger here. So the question is, what happens first? If this M were being printed ultimately on like a Monday at the start of the week, then it's very likely we would get 3 levels down according to the market maker method of trade, travel, chill, which is something that I've been really diving deep into because it plays out very, very well. And looking at it on an hourly, I'm basically able to say, okay, well, this is the big M. We could probably go down. Maybe we will go down, and we're going to play around and do some consolidation, maybe another drop into the 105 area. But in order to do that, we have to chew through all of this bullish order book liquidity that's just sitting here. There's not much bearish going on. So it's likely we're going to either trend sideways and keep chewing at this probably through the weekend. That's my guess based off of what I'm seeing here. And then from there, we could potentially come back down. It wants to get down here. This is where all the sell side liquidity is. But to get through that, we really have to chew up all these order books along the way, which is not going to be easy, and it's probably not going to happen just in the course of this weekend. Now, from there, I'm dropping down to the 15-minute chart, and again, I'm looking at my flux indicators. I'm looking to see, okay, where are we in price? This bearish triggered here in a trend reversal, and then it's printing these take profits. We already hit the first one, we hit the second one, and of course, we hit this last one. So this trigger has already played out completely, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to potentially go lower, but I'm looking at this to get a pretty broad idea as to what can I expect in the shorter term. Then, of course, I'm coming back here to figure out what's happening in the immediate term, what sort of scalp opportunities do I have. I'm then looking at these fair value gaps, again, printed with flux charts. That's basically telling me where are these price magnets. These have been sitting here for a while. There's a very big one down here at 107,700. Then we also have the moving average down here. So based off of everything that I've looked at across the board, I'm going to expect the price to come back down, burn through these areas, likely at the very least come down here into this fair value gap area, and then we could potentially get a reversal, or this trend channel could continue moving down, and then maybe we hit that, we come back up, we bounce off of that and get some lower lows. Then maybe, so basically that's the gist of what I'm working on and what I'm looking at. I'm hoping that a lot of this stuff makes sense. There are links in the description if you're interested in any of this stuff. I obviously I say it all the time, but I'm very proud of Flux Charts being an official sponsor of my channel. They really are helping me immensely. And there's a lot more to the flux charts indicator. I just don't use them all. I'm primarily focused on the elements of the indicator that I am personally putting to work, what absolutely helps me. Just because they're a sponsor, I'm not using everything. They have a lot of stuff available, but if it's not going to benefit me and my trades, and I don't think it's going to benefit you, I'm not even going to bother talking about it. But you can see here I've got Flux Charts Price Action Toolkit is my primary. I use that one, and you can see I've got my market sessions, I've got my volume, I've got my trade by design, my market cipher A, okay, and of course I've got the MACD. So that's what I'm using primarily on my 15-minute candles. And then the 1 minute is just to basically monitor what's happening in real time, as close as I can get. I could go lower than that if I really need to know more, but ultimately this is what I'm looking at. Like right now, I'm looking at this. Is this going to bounce off of this moving average and continue lower, or what? Because we had a pretty strong bullish a bullish volume candle here. But you can see on this 1 minute, this is just basically riding. It's literally riding this moving average now in the minute. So we're going to find out, are we going to break above it and close, then work towards this moving average, or are we going to bounce and continue to the downside? From here, on a 15-minute candle, it looks like we want to continue to the downside and start working through this fair value gap. So that's it. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea as to what I'm doing right now, what I'm looking at, and just let you know I'm getting very, very serious about day trading and really diving deep into this. I want to get to a point where I'm able to make consistent trades. I'm not going to say on a daily basis. My current setup is really focused on Monday mornings market opens and then market transitions from there. Basically dependent upon what's happening when Asia hands off the market to the UK, when the UK hands off the market to the US, because the MACD plays a big role in that. And so I'm ultimately looking at all of these indicators for confluence of what my sentiment is. And I'm at a position now where I've been training myself all this past week on just getting used to stop losses, using these stop losses, no matter what I think. Because if there's anything, even in some of the books that I've been listening to recently, like one of the biggest problems with trading, honestly, in my opinion, is ego. You have to leave your ego at the door. You can't look at this stuff like you're trading money, like you're trying to make money. You have to look at it like lines in a game. You're just playing with lines. You're trying to predict the lines that are established by ultimately a bot, a trading bot, because over 60% of everything you're seeing with market making, with liquidity, all of that, this is done on an automated level. We love to sit here and think that we're trading against other people like us and that we're somehow moving the market, right? And that's just not the case. We're effectively trading against market makers. And these market makers, more often than not, are algorithmic systems. And so you're trading against that. The beauty is that the market maker system and working against these market makers is a pattern, and you can find this pattern. You can start expecting that pattern. And if you're new to trading, I would actually encourage you to journal your trades for a week while you're basically trying to say, okay, well, I saw this trade opportunity. I went into it. As soon as I went into it, the price reversed on me. I would keep a log of doing that and why, and then spend a week counter trading your own sentiment. Because the idea is that these market makers are programmed, and if they're not machines, the individuals that are making these markets, they know how you think. They know on every level how you think, what's going to get you into a trade, what's going to trap you into a trade, why, when, and how. And that is what they do. Everything that you think you know about trading, they know you think you know it, and that's how they wreck you. And so if you're, depending on your level of experience, if you're new to trading and you see an opportunity and you think to yourself, oh, this is a good opportunity because the price is down here, it's going to go back up from here, you don't know that you're wrong until you put your money down and you take a bet and then you watch it reverse on you. And you're going to sit there and think, this doesn't make any sense. This is what you have to learn. And this is what I'm ultimately learning. And then on top of that, when you do make that investment, or you're making that trade rather, and the price does go against you, your ego keeps you from just cutting your losses and maintaining the rest of that capital and moving on. That's another part of the mentality. You have to get used to using these stop losses. And so that I have made at least 50 trades over the past week, just focused on getting used to those stop losses, not worrying about this little tiny loss here, the tiny loss there, because even if I'm trading with like 1 or 2%, and maybe it's, $150, $200 of my total book, the gains aren't that huge, but the losses aren't either. And every one of those is a learning experience, and it's basically programming my mind to getting used to effectively trading lines in a game, not making it about making money. The second you start pushing and pushing and pushing yourself because you're trying to make a bunch of money, I'm going to get rich trading, that emotional state that you're in is what the market makers absolutely capitalize on. So that's that for today. I just wanted to share this, and hopefully, put some thoughts in your mind, and get you really used to what's going on. And until next time, crow your coins, and I'll see you soon.